problem, I think, why most people aren't successful is because of the variables. Meaning that most people don't pay themselves first. It's very, very difficult to do that. But most people will save or invest what's left over. And if what's left over is zero, well, that's not great. So interesting to me, a lot of the guys, the traditional way that you save is and invest for retirement, as a CFP would teach you, is basically, earn as much income as you can from your 9 to 5 job. Maybe if you have a side hustle, save a good portion of your check, 10-20%, pay the bills, and obviously then there's just some amount left over. Go spend that. The problem, I think, why most people aren't successful is because of the variables. Meaning that most people don't pay themselves first. It's very, very difficult to do that. But most people will save or invest what's left over. And if what's left over is zero, well, that's not great. Because most people do that, a CFP might say, hey, I want you to start, just try to save, $100 a week. Just try to save 5% a week, 10%. And the problem is, unless you have that CFP that's always constantly at you all the time, reminding, right? What's going to happen over the years is you're going to say, well, I'll just save 10%. So you're making $40,000 a year, you save $4,000 a year. And that's okay. But when you're making $80,000 a year, then you save $8,000. And what happens is, over time, you got to dab into that a little bit. Maybe you take a 401k loan out to buy a house. Whatever it is, you just don't end up saving enough. So you'll end up at 65 years old with not enough money. The reason is because what you need to be doing, and what people that truly create generational wealth or just retire in their 30s or in their 40s, starting this process in their 20s, what they do is, when they're making $40,000 a year, they're saving 10%, just like everyone else. But they have a mindset. Nobody needs to go back and remind them and say, hey, you're making $80,000 now. You probably, you're saving 10, you're saving 8,000 a year. That's actually pretty good. No one needs to say to them, hey, if you were living off $40,000 at 25, now you're making $80,000 at 30. You can live off $40,000 at 30. Age is all but a number. There's no difference in your life between young or older. Now you can say, well, I have kids, I want to get a house. All of those are life choices put onto you based on what society says you should do. Start dating, get married, maybe, late 20s, early 30s, have kids, buy a house, whatever. That's all. There's nothing wrong with working all through your 20s and 30s, saving, living on shit, eating shit, or whatever, becoming debt free, building a cash flow of $70,000, $80,000, and simply just then going to get married at 37 or 38, having kids. Oh, my kids, they'll be older. I won't be able to play football with them. I had kids at a young age, at an older age. It's perfectly fine. My daughter right now, I'm 43. My daughter's 3 years old. I run around with her everywhere. What I can provide for her, I think, is a lot more valuable than being 10 years younger, 15 years younger. Because what I'm able to provide for her, I'm not going to say money, well, it is money. I can provide to her a father that can be with her every single day, because I ain't got to work. Because when I decided to have kids, I was already set up. So the point I'm trying to say is, most people save 10%, and then when they make 80,000, they're like, oh, but now I gotta buy a new car and I gotta do whatever. They don't have the mindset. They're just following this, like, oh, I'll just save a little, I'll just save a little. How much you save depends on how quickly you will reach financial freedom. You need to be saving everything. Everything. And so when your mind shifts and you say, I don't want to retire, and this is why I like real estate people, is because they go, well, I need to save $80,000 to buy a property this year. How do I do that if I'm making $80,000 a year? Well, you don't spend a penny of that. You and your wife, or you and your girlfriend, maybe you got married, but you're not going to have kids yet. You save all of her income and you only live off your income. Or you're making $40,000 a year. You're both making $40,000 a year. You move in together. So you got $80,000. You're living off 65 of that. And then when you both get raises to $80,000, you're putting her $40,000, your $40,000, and the $15,000 from before, and you're putting it all away. So you're saving $120,000 a year. You didn't go buy a new car. You're driving around in a shitty, just blown up stuff. A lot of real estate people make it sound like, oh, you should drive Lamborghinis. I know I drive a Ferrari, whatever, all of that. Yes, because I've done this now. I've arrived at where I need to be, and now I can go play. It wasn't like that when we were growing up. Instead, or when I was in that transition, I drove crappy cars. I didn't spend a whole lot of money. I didn't do much of anything. Until you save enough money, until you get it, then you go do those things. The point is, you need to change your mindset. If you ever sit down with somebody and they say, hey, I want to help you retire, let's make that target range of 65. What do you want your lifestyle to be when you're 65? What do you want better than it is now? 15, 20, 30 times better than it is now. If I'm making $80,000 a year, when I retire at 65, I want to be making $400,000 a year. What most CFPs will tell you is they'll say, well, if you're making 80 now, your house is going to be paid off. You probably don't need to change your vehicles so much. You're going to go on a couple vacations, whatever. So you probably only need like, what, 60,000? You get on Social Security. And so they make you put all this money into 401k IRA, something they charge you, some sort of amount, right? And they'll charge you fees on that. And that's why they want you to go to IRA, 401k, and all those types of things. And you just start saving and saving and saving. And you get your nice little sweet 8% compounded interest. No, folks. People that want to create generational wealth and that understand how money works realize that the only way that you are going to retire is if you have enough money to coming in to pay for all your lifestyle. And the only way you can get those things is if you have a bunch of money to go buy those assets. That could be a dumb business. Shout out to Cody Sanchez. That could be real estate. Think Grant Cardone. Think us. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. And so if you are a person, you're making $40,000 a year, and someone says to you, just save 10%, pay yourself first, save 10%. No, what you should do is figure out, how can I make the most money possible? Maybe 9 to 5, maybe 5 to 9. Don't burn yourself out. It's not all about work and making money. And when I get that check, how is it that I can put 100% of that? 100% of that. How can I put that away towards my investment, towards my future? How can I put 100% away so that I don't ever have to fucking work again? How do I do that? And so when you think about, how do I put 100%? You're like, well, I got to eat. Do you? Because all the employees that work at my restaurant, all of them, eat for free every single day. They come in, they work, their entire check they keep, they eat at my restaurant for free. This is what I did when I was in college. I ate at Carrabba's and Outback Steakhouse for free. Didn't get to choose what I ate. I got what was left over. I got food that was messed up, right? I know people's food, like they burned something, they wasn't great, but it was free. I drove a car that was paid off. I got the lowest insurance policy that was legally that I need to have when I was in Florida. And while I got the cheapest apartment, if I was young, I would go in and I would live with my parents as long as I possibly can. And instead of spending what I hear, I have one person I know, they spend $2,200 a month on a one-bedroom apartment. I would live with my family and I would pay my parents $500 to pay for the utilities. And so my check, I would be holding as much of that check and I would stay there as long as I possibly can. Now, people would be like, oh, but how you ever going to get game? How you ever going to get those girls to come over? Like, what? You live with your parents? People are going to think you're a fool. Not the fucking girl you want. Not the girl you want. The girls you will play with don't care. They'll invite you over. The girls that you might want to seriously date because, maybe they're of a quality, you want to do something more than just be playing around, spinning plates, right? Well, those ones, if they're like, oh man, you're still living with your parents? Yeah, I'm living with my parents because I make $65,000 a year and I'm saving all of it because I don't want to do this and I'm going to retire in 8 years. If they don't understand that, and they don't understand being frugal, eating shit, being uncomfortable early so you can be comfortable later, if they don't understand that ain't a girl you want to be dating anyway. If she's like, well, I got to go and I want to have vacations and I got to get the new this and new that, that ain't a person. And vice versa, ladies. If you're living at home and you meet a guy and he's like, oh, I'm going to get this apartment, I want to go spend, and I'm partying, whatever, that is also a person that not you want. Because that person is not financially stable, and the only thing that's going to happen for the rest of your life is you're both going to make money, you're both going to live paycheck to paycheck, you're not going to have retirement, and you're going to struggle and fight and argue until you divorce, primarily because people fight all the time over finances. You know what Claire and I never fight over? Never fight over finances. I don't even understand. My entire foyer is full of boxes of stuff. I don't even care. I don't care if it's a bunch of Hermes bags, Louis bags, rice. It doesn't really matter to, I don't really care. Don't even think about it, because there's no amount of money that she could possibly spend, and I know she wouldn't spend and overspend because she knows what's coming in. She knows what we got, and so she's not. We're on the same team. We're on the same pace. So don't worry about that. The point is that if you have a mindset of earn as much as you can and save as much as you can, 100% of all the dollars, 100% of all the dollars, your mind shifts. You don't save 10%. You don't save 20%. You save all of the dollars. And when you can't do that, because you have to pay rent, I guess you have to buy food, depending on what situation's different. Your car broke down, you got to buy new tires, whatever it is. You get frustrated and furious. This is different than the person that makes money and tries to save 10%, but can't do it because, whatever reason, and they get frustrated, like, oh, I really want to save 10%. I'm not saving as much as I can. That sucks. No. What you should be saying is, I'm saving 100% of all of my money. And if I can't do that, that sucks. That's the shift. And that is a mindset, a frugality mindset. That is a mindset that most people, when they're watching this, you're like, yeah, right. Like, I already have bills. I don't even have $100 left over. That's correct. Which is why I try to gear most of my videos for younger people. Because older people can't make the shift. The only way older people make the shift is if something catastrophic happens in their life and they get the opportunity to reset, and that shock changes them enough that they can actually reset. Meaning, you're married, you're maxed out, you've lived this life, you get divorced, whatever. You reset, you move into an apartment, and because you just don't even know, maybe you're able to then go, I'm just not going to do anything because I don't want to do this anymore. I just did all this whole pathway. It didn't work. I got to find something different. And so you're willing to then go move back in with your parents if you're still young, or if you're old, maybe you move in with a friend for a little bit. Maybe you move into a really crappy apartment. Maybe you have to give up the next truck because you don't have the dual income anymore. Whatever it is, you reset it. Or young people, because young people, you don't have life creep yet. And while you do have Instagram and the socials and other people around you that are going to go spend, it's easier when you're a broke college kid and you have no money and you are living with your parents and you're not really spending anything, that when you start making money, you're like, oh, I have a little dollars now. And you can make that choice and go, do I want to start that life creep process where I'm going to struggle my entire life? Or should I just take this money that I didn't have last week and I was perfectly fine and put it in my pocket? And then put it in my pocket and then do that week over week. And then as you graduate college, I know where my kids were like, hey, I want to stay home. I'd be like, awesome. I just need you to cut the yard and, help out a little bit, right? This is the different mindset between the Western and the Eastern cultures. But hey, you want to stay and hang out? Yeah. Hey, if you could chip in $1,000, I know you just got a nice offer out of college, you're making 75, 80,000. If you could chip in $1,000 towards the fucking gas bill because you're gonna be floating out of the heated pool, great, no problem. They save 70. It would be nothing pleasurable than to have my kids go, I want to take my $80,000 salary and I want to save every penny of it. I'm going to do that for the next 5 to 6 years so I can buy a couple of businesses, maybe a couple of rental properties, so I can get a nice nest egg of $5, $6, $7,000 a month. And so when I have that, then I'm going to move out and I'm going to buy a house because those rentals are going to pay for that mortgage. And those rentals are going to pay for that car. And those rentals are going to pay for those diapers. And they're going to do all of that. Then I'm going to go and have kids and get married and all that kind of stuff once I'm able to provide that. In Western cultures, we want to move out so quickly. We want to kick our parents out, everybody live separately. One of the coolest things that I learned marrying Claire and understanding the Eastern culture or the Chinese culture, her parents live with me, us. It's amazing. If they decided to move, I would handcuff them because you know what I don't pay for? I don't pay for daycare. I don't pay for a nanny. I don't pay for whatever. And yet I never have to clean diapers. I don't have to make breakfast, lunch, and dinner for my kids. I don't have to pick them up and drop them off at soccer, pick them up and drop them off at hockey or tennis or piano or all the other bullshit that they're doing. I don't have to do all that. I can show up and go enjoy those things, but I'm not obligated. So I'm doing business. I'm not having to end business at 3 o'clock to go pick my kids up, to then go and drop them off to do something because that's an obligation. Their grandparents do it. Never had to clean my house. I never do because the point is we're all pitching into one another. It's profound. And if you generally like the people that you are around, your family and stuff like that, because you're not fighting over a bunch of stupid stuff like money and finances and all of that, that's actually pretty quite enjoyable. And when they get older, we'll be able to take care of them. We'll probably hire someone, but we'll be able to take care of them. And so that's the point. Anyway, went on a long riff today. This is supposed to be a 3 minute short. 16 minutes in, but there's good stuff here. It's just frustrating to me that people are lying to you. Educated, people that go and take online courses or whatever, they become CFPs. You can do it. I went and took all the courses. You go take a test, and then you have to take another test to get the certification, and then you get some lists. You're supposed to be great. These people are lying to you, because they're only telling you to do the bare minimum because they think that you can't handle it. And I'll say this to you. You are either a person with a mindset of I need to save 100% of my check, or you're not. Or you're the person that goes, well, I'll just try to save, 10%, maybe we'll go to 20% later. One of you will have immense cash flow and will be able to retire in your 30s and your 40s, whatever, depending on your lifestyle you want to be, if you even want to retire. The other one is going to struggle their entire life. They're going to be always concerned with, oh, I don't have money for that vacation. Oh, I don't have this for that. I'm still trying to, if I do that, then this. Always worried about money. Because the system that you're following is set you up to fail. It's simple math, 3rd, 4th grade math. But they're lying to you. A lot of people are lying to you because they think that you can't handle it. And if you tell somebody, save 100% of your check, well, you're not going to listen. Most people, 99% of the people will not listen to them, and they won't earn their commissions, and they won't be able to feed their family. I want to make you the 1%. Because the 1% save 100% of their check. That's the mindset.